I'd like to call the meeting of the Fremont School Board to order on Tuesday, May 27th at 6:30. And if we could just start by a salute to the flag, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could you roll call, please?
Ryan here.
Are you sure?
Dean here.
Kitty here.
Cole here.
Okay. Old business. Any?
I don't know if you
Do we have the projector working?
Oh, yes. Turn it on. That's already set up, so. See, I'm good.
That was amazing. It just came right up when you did that. It's just like, it's there. Okay, so I don't think this old business is not going to be discussed.
There's questions
during
at the end of the,
Okay,
if you want to do those at the end of the minutes, or we can do the minutes and get them at the end of the
that's
minutes.
okay, we're doing it. I'll get to them right
Okay.
here. So there was a question as to why NEASC accreditation was stated in the report as a school board goal.
That was just a misunderstanding.
Okay. Okay. Ms. Keene asked to see the packet provided by the presenting attorney at the Ceresco Law Conference. Did everybody get a copy of that? I sent it to everybody? Okay. Dr. Cox, Buteau would ask Ms. Smith what happened to the old wireless devices that were replaced.
Yeah, so I sent her an email, and I have not heard back from her about it. I believe that, I don't know, I still have to answer the question.
We can bring that to the next one. I don't think it's an emergency. Dr. Cox would double check that Brain Pop software, and that's in our,
Right.
Yeah.
it's in the report.
Yeah.
So it was in the budget, but, and we did remember that it was there.
Yes.
We just didn't remember
It
how
was
much.
we believe a single license was in, this would be a whole school
Okay.
license.
And then Ms. Keene requested the original budget for tuition and what was spent to date and what that was made up of, as well as what Fremont is being charged for this current school year. So, yeah, but I'm gonna pass it out. You know what, we can talk about it during financials if that's okay?
It's up to you.
We'll
Makes
do
sense.
that, and everybody can just kind of take a peek. I already have one.
And I think these
Did Sue, is there another?
two. Yeah, I'm gonna bring her over one.
Well, is there an extra one? Okay.
Thanks.
And Mr. Rowell mentioned that there was a group of people who went to New Market schools and taught foreign language. I think that's in your report as well.
Yes, yes, I did, I checked on that, and unfortunately, we're too late. Yeah, I tried to cover as many report as I can.
Okay, so then we'll go right to the minutes. Oh no, agenda revisions, do we have any?
I don't have any, I think we're all set.
Okay. Approval of minutes, public minutes of May 13th, 2014. Did anybody have anything for those?
Stephanie Allen, you had on page 3,
Oh,
top of the
yeah.
page. Stephanie
Thank you.
Allen.
Thanks.
Betsy, under Roman numeral 8, A1, superintendent report, on the second paragraph, page 2, sorry.
Yeah.
Is the SAU would learn this Friday if Ellis was determined to be a focus school or not? Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, that's
and
correct,
and
okay.
it got sent out at about 11 PM on Friday night, and
Oh.
I have the information for correspondence.
Okay, so that is right. I just didn't know if you had said that, like,
Yes, I did say
somehow
that.
I must have been thinking something when you were speaking, because I don't remember hearing it. Okay, good. And then the same thing, is it correct, under section E of, well, hold on. It's page 3 of the packet, page 4 of the packet. Sorry. Section E, 1, 2, third paragraph down.
Mhm.
the last statement, data showed that spiraling was not effective. A new math program was being piloted.
Oh, that's, I had a question about that.
And that should come from John in his report this time around. John asked me if the math group, there is a math curriculum group, could pilot a new math program. Apparently this math program is being carried by a woman who used to be a teacher here. Yeah, and she had brought it.
Carol Cohen.
Yes.
She works for McGraw-Hill.
Yeah, she had recommended it, the committee had looked at it and a variety of others, and they were thinking about piloting it. But the way that they wanted to pilot it is not the way that piloting should be done, at least in my training. And that is that they want the entire fourth grade to use the books next year. And besides the fact that the Marshall memo came out a week before saying that it doesn't matter what book you use, it's training the teachers that makes the difference. And the fact that Sanborn uses everyday math, which we use. And so I asked all these questions about why do you want to change, et cetera. And then I said, well, I would allow a pilot in one fourth grade classroom because you have to be able to compare the data against the existing program. So we're down to one classroom. But if the board does move ahead with the .4 curriculum coordinator, that would be one thing that that person oversaw, would be that whole process. There would be someone who has experience in that area and would devote their time, some of their time to that process.
So John's going to address that in his report.
So should we ask questions then or now?
You can ask any questions you like, I can put him in, for me, so he can address them in his report.
If you want to ask questions about it, if we could wait till the superintendent's report and just finish the minutes, and we'll just keep that as as one of the things we'll talk about, just to keep us on track as far as the minutes go.
There's one other thing on page 4, that section, unanticipated fund balance should be unexpended fund balance. It is unanticipated, but we like to think that we will actually save money, not that we don't anticipate it, but use unexpended, I would prefer that.
And I just had, I had something on page 1 actually, under section 5 correspondence. Says the artist sent a letter to the school board and the budget committee stated there was no RSA requiring audit to be done under. Wouldn't it? I just think the word within.
Yeah, I said under, that's
Be
fine.
clearer.
Yeah, it's a little clearer.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
And then I have page 5. The first full paragraph, Mr. Rowell mentioned that there was a group of people. I think it's a company, isn't it?
It is
a company that traveled
An
to
organization.
various schools in the area and taught foreign language.
Yes. The name of it escapes me right now. I looked into it immediately,
Yeah.
but it's in my.
And that's all I have for
Yeah.
changes. Anything else?
Good.
Nice job, Sue.
Thank you.
As always.
Do I have a motion to accept as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Correspondence.
I have been
So keep it on here.
No, it's not the packet. This came Friday night at 11
Is
p.m.
it a 2-page letter?
It's a front and back. Oh, wait a minute, the first one is 2 pages, because that was
The rest of
my
it's
copy.
back.
Okay.
The
Do
rest
you want
of-
your copy or does it matter?
Doesn't matter. This is the question of the focus school. We are and remain as focus school for the coming year. There were 2 schools from up north that were removed from the list, but they changed the criteria as well. So I have not had a chance to dissect it because I didn't see this until this morning. And I want to look through the criteria which are on the back of that and see exactly why they did what they did. But it does allow us to get another $32,000 next year,
Bonus?
which has to be spent on the focus school activities.
Couldn't put that in the budget. My question is,
Actually, we already have the budget built for next year.
right,
But we can accept.
we can accept it.
Yes, we can accept
The,
it.
Yes, we can, as a matter of
right.
fact. Hallelujah, praise the Lord.
Now-
Sorry, I was
Small
getting into the
Now, my question is this, who changed this? Was it changed by law, was it changed by the Department of Ed?
The Department of Education, and I'm speaking off the cuff here, my understanding is they wrote a waiver that explained how they were going to identify these schools. There must be some wiggle room inside the waiver that allows them to make adjustments, because the waiver was what was accepted by the USDA.
Right.
So I'm going to guess that they're following their own rules. They must be able to make some kind of adjustments. So
I would like to have that substantiated.
I can certainly ask for more clarification.
Because they, I mean, you know, you don't go changing the rules in the middle of the course.
Well, some people do.
Well, it's pretty irresponsible, to be honest with you. So they shouldn't be changing, I mean, you know, you develop a program to deal with the pools as they set them up. In a period, I don't know whether they arbitrarily changed them or if something came up with the feds where they were forced to change.
I do have to say that my information
Yeah.
for saying that they have changed it came from John's reading of it. I have
Alright.
not read it yet, so I
Okay.
have to
Maybe
confirm
they have.
that they were changed.
Okay,
But he's more familiar with it than I am, so.
all right.
Doesn't look like it changed, but then again, I don't know,
Yeah.
it just gives you an explanation of why.
How they did it this year. Yeah, so.
Oh, no, they actually say how it was calculated last year.
Okay.
And then, and then
Okay,
it
no,
gave
do you want each one
overall
I need?
equity index, then you hit the statewide equity index, gives you an example, and then it shows what we need to be.
Mhm.
I mean, the thing about
I
changing
think it was
things,
the bar that changed.
I mean, the thing about this is like, they could change it every year and we could be a focus school for the rest of the eternity.
Well, the waiver is up at the end of next year. So they're writing a new
Really?
waiver. And we'll see what that entails. Things are going to change a bit in that, including school approval and
Mhm.
how often you have to take they're putting in to allow schools to make 3 choices on how they want to be assessed. We have to be assessed under federal law at 4, 8, and 11, but we don't have to take it every year. So the DOE is going to allow districts to opt to take the Smarter Balance 3 times and then use school assessments approved by the DOE. And other times, high schools are going to be allowed to choose to take the SAT, assuming the pilot goes well this year. There's a few other things that are coming up, so there's changes in that. I don't know whether they'll still have focus schools or not.
Can we, well, yeah, there's gonna be a new administration.
Well,
New president.
it'll be a new, well,
New
it'll be a
Congress.
waiver. The waiver will be.
But personally, I would like to have an explanation from the State Board of Ed as to why they made these changes and, you know.
Well, let me find out what they
You know,
are.
and Andy, I would recommend that you go to their website if you have time to read some stuff.
Alright.
Definitely go to their website because they do put out a lot of information. And it
Alright.
might help to explain some of it because there's a lot of moving parts, but it will give you more information than you probably even want to know. But at
But
least
they
it'll
can-
give you
they-
the answers of, it'll
tells
tell
me
you
why.
who, it'll tell you who and why,
Right.
and then you can decide if you think it's appropriate or not, because it could be that could also be, you know, a matter of opinion for some
Right.
people. So are we sending somebody to the renewal conference and to the summer summit?
Yes, and that's paid for by the 32,000.
Okay.
And John is already arranging that.
Okay.
This says 3 years, by the way. In order to exhibit significant gains in student outcomes.
And that, I think, that may be the change, because I thought it was 2 years.
Prairie School List requires that school achieves a 3-year average. Well, no, that's a 3-year average, sorry.
No, we did, the 3-year average was there before. Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll see.
All right.
I'll see what I can find out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other correspondence? I didn't check my mailbox.
No, it's-
Do you know if I?
Yvonne didn't bring anything to my attention, so.
Okay.
Do you want me to go check it quick?
No, I can go check it out. I usually come in and I was late tonight, so I'll just look really quick to make
You
sure
need to
nobody
be
sends
sending
anything.
I'm gonna make a copy for myself, so I'll make one for you guys.
And they didn't request input at all from anyone regarding changing this regulation.
We don't know what it's changed though, so
All right.
that's probably more of what we need to find
I'll
out.
look it up, because, you know, you're building towards one thing, and then it gets changed, so then you have to, you know, take a look at everything and start all over again.
So that's if there's a change. You let us know what the changes is and focus on figuring out what that means.
Okay, so Senate committee reports, policy committees.
Well, we met. Do you guys want to talk?
We met, we went over 2 policies, FABB and JFABBR regarding foreign exchange. So the one will, I think we're presenting tonight, the other one will table until later.
It'll come next week.
Okay.
We're going through policies that are 5 or more years old. We have already taken care of all the policies required by law. And I also put on the agenda for discussion at future agendas, a couple of policies. One that the policy committee would like the board to discuss at the June 25th meeting before the policy committee addresses it. So we want some direction from the board.
Okay. Budget committee.
Second that. So an update, I am 99% sure it's forwarded out that letter from the auditor, confirming, I'm pretty sure I sent it out, and nothing came back, but I'll confirm.
Okay. Negotiations committee. I don't know if that's is that considered the tuition contract also?
That's our understandable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're already on there.
Okay, so we'll talk about that then.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a couple things coming up from the FEA in our packet that we'll talk about.
Right.
But it's not, that wasn't the negotiation committee, it's
Right.
Yeah.
a discussion that took place.
Yeah, I don't know why,
So at this point,
why I
it's
wasn't
not
included in
met.
that discussion.
Because we can go into this a little bit, but I specifically tried to nail them down as to why they were inviting me at all, because they were inviting Betsy. And I asked them, is this negotiations? And they said, no, it's just a discussion we want to have with you.
I should have been there. I'm on negotiation committee.
They said it wasn't
I
negotiations,
don't
Andy.
care, whether what they said.
It was a complaint about the board meeting. It wasn't about negotiations.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't about,
Okay, it wasn't about the contract.
it was about the vote on the contract, which we have later on.
Which is in the packet.
Right, and I have some comments.
That was
about
the only thing that
Actually,
they brought up.
I'll comment on that one.
Right.
For the,
And I wouldn't have had the meeting if it was negotiations without you.
Right, well,
Because I told them that specifically and pegged them down quite hard before I even went into the meeting.
But they're asking that we reconsider. But anyway, we'll
We'll
get to
We'll
that,
get to
we'll get to that
It's
when
a
we
good
get to that.
explanation, you know.
for
We'll get
the,
to that when we get to
for
that.
the support staff negotiation committee, is there anything we should do right now? Because we just wait for them, or do we wait for?
Research the contract.
Just,
And
You have to be
you might
on-
want
And
to
wait
talk,
for them.
who we having, Peter Phillips, who's gonna be our negotiator?
I think it's probably gonna be well.
And what I would do, you can run the contract, you have, we'll look at the contract and give you suggestions. And then,
your own, right?
right, and then you suggestions, then you can bring those before, the school board as to what kind of changes you'd like.
Could I?
I don't think it's
Sorry,
open
can I
yet,
ask
though, the
you, Bob?
negotiations
It's
aren't
not
open
open yet, but
yet.
they can,
It's at the PELRB website. All contracts in New Hampshire at the NHPELRB website.
A little bit slow, PE,
Public Employees Labor Relations Board, PELRB. Just Google
I
NHPELRB.
got it, okay.
And on the front page, it says contracts.
All right, cool, I'll put it on
That's
Yeah,
there.
just
everybody's in
Fremont.
there.
Yeah.
And Greg, if you have a problem, I'll make you a copy.
Yeah,
I'll try that first.
but
Yeah, but if you have a problem, just send me an email.
Thank you.
they're all there. And you
There
can,
are things that we've been noticing too.
yeah, we have things too. But that's strategy and that's not something we should talk about tonight. But you'll find every other contract in the state there as well. So if you want to do any comparison, you
Okay.
can.
Mhm.
Cool, thank you.
Board of Selectmen's Committee?
Oh, yeah, I just have a question. The $350,000, is that being returned, was that returned last fall or this fall? It was had to been last fall, right?
No,
It'll be returned this fall.
This
It was returned this
yeah.
fall, okay.
because it wasn't.
We didn't
That's
know
one of
that,
the
yeah.
things we
Who's
asked the
being
auditor is,
Right.
why didn't we apply that? And she said, I don't know.
I think it's because,
It wasn't done.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't ready to release it. The auditors weren't ready to release it, so.
All right.
So is that money in like our bank account somewhere and that's where it's being transferred out of?
So to speak. I mean, it's sort of fake money, you know what I mean? Not really, but you know what I mean?
There's nothing to count on.
Yeah, exactly.
It's numbers on paper.
Right,
Okay.
exactly,
Counting.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and Okay, and that came from the.
2 years of
2
audit.
years of fund balance,
Two
11,
fund
12, and 12, 13.
That's
All right.
correct.
And part of that fund balance came from revenues we weren't expecting? Is
I
that
don't
part of
believe
it?
so,
No?
because you weren't allowed to
Right.
keep, you
Kept
weren't allowed to.
Well, no, I mean, as far, we
It was-
had that issue where we had more special ed revenues, Title I money than we expected.
No, you couldn't collect that, we couldn't
Right.
accept it.
But we did, we were
We did.
able to accept 2 different lump sums because
Okay.
the budget committee gave us permission after we sent, the budget committee agreed to
Right.
allow us to send a letter
Okay.
requesting it, so they
Right.
did. But it was like 74,000 one year, I'm just going off memory.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
And-
part of it may be.
Yeah.
But we just know that now that it's closed out, we're given permission to close the books on the years.
And what did we return last year then?
You didn't return anything last year.
Nothing last year?
Yeah, they weren't ready to return it.
There was nothing to substantiate any.
So that's why our taxes went up last, like they did.
They'll go to,
Did they go up a lot?
I'm not that
Yes.
much, yes. Not, no, have to remember.
$300 a year on a house, I think that's a lot.
Yeah, it went up,
That's not what mine
went up like a buck,
something.
something like that.
Anyway, it shouldn't be a problem going forward.
Yeah, next year, shoot, I would think before that
Okay.
anyway.
I just want, because when I go over to selectmen, they're gonna have these questions, I want to
Yeah.
get an answer for them, that's all.
This amount will be applied to the tax setting for this fall coming up.
That's
Right.
That's correct.
That's the
Right.
amount, I'm keeping it right here on the front of my page,
Right.
so that when that gets done, I wanna make sure. It's right here. It's there.
So it's 2 years worth of, okay,
Yes.
basically, yeah.
unexpended fund balance.
Correct.
Unassigned fund balance.
Unassigned or unexpended?
Unexpended, and then
Unassigned.
it becomes unassigned.
Yeah, it
Alright.
becomes unassigned after everything's unexpended.
That's
Right.
right.
So
Alright.
any other report on the selectmen though? They're coming to our next
Yes,
audit
that's the next
meeting,
meeting.
June.
June, yeah, we're set up for that.
Anything else? No? Nothing big going on in town?
Do we know how we're gonna run that meeting? How that meeting's gonna be run?
I think it's gonna have to be a joint meeting where they
Right.
call to order and we do too,
They
because they're
post it.
posting it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you both have to post it, you both have to open your meetings. The topic for discussion, they requested the meeting.
Right.
So I would expect them to at least open the conversation, and then after that, they'd go
Okay.
What's the
Right.
date of that one again?
the 10th.
Okay.
June. Yeah, it's just a regular meeting.
Regular school board
Yeah.
meeting, but it's at the beginning.
Mhm. So the regular meeting starts at 7.
Yeah.
PTA liaison, that's me. I went to the last meeting. I'm gonna be going to the one in June. One in June, they're actually electing officers. I think they're trying to drum up the forces to, it's
Yeah,
always a
officers.
tough time. I remember being there myself, begging people to step up and take the roles of officers, but they're still doing great work. They had just a recap of some of their programs. Field Day is a big deal right now, and then they were trying to decide on a couple of fundraisers for next year. They thought Yankee Candle went well, and they're trying to do one more fundraiser, but they're not sure what they're gonna do yet. Other than that, I mean, it was just a very good meeting, as always. I don't think they had any questions for me, but I am really going from memory here. If they did, Sue would know. So do you know?
No, that's what we were just saying, we're like, I didn't go to it, did you?
I know you guys weren't there, but I wasn't sure. They sent out a great, oh, here, newsletter, maybe I have it. Yep, they just talked about it.
Does the board receive the newsletter that they do? Because
Yes.
it's a really, okay.
I
I
did.
get it, I get it as a member.
Yeah, I get it
Okay.
as a member. Do you guys all get it?
Mhm.
Okay. Oh, they had the teacher appreciation
Yeah.
week. That was, I think, a big hit.
Yeah.
They, gave a great luncheon and all of that. That was what the meeting was about too. And they're going to do something at the 250th celebration. They're gonna have a table set up. Yep, Field Day's a big, big thing. I filled them in on the foreign language, what I knew so far. The tuition contract was ongoing, that the strategic planning committees was in progress, and that all school board members had attended the training up in Concord. I think that's about it. And there's 18 new certified babysitters, American Red Cross certified babysitters, thanks to Carly Smith, who runs that program. So that's all I have for PTA. Professional Development Liaison.
That's me. They were supposed to meet on the 14th, but other activities cut into their time, so they were not able to meet. the next meeting will be on June 11, and I'm gonna try to go if I can manage it. What they're working on now is to align their plan more for the teacher effectiveness committee. So that's their process now. And they have a lot that they would like to do before the opening of the school.
Okay, that's all I have. Joint Board Teacher Committee, we did not meet at all. Wellness Committee,
I believe they met on the 14th
Yeah.
also. That was a very popular day for meetings. And we were all at the training in Concord.
And I was at Advil.
Yes, and I did send another email to Kelly Booth to find out what was going on, but I haven't heard back from her.
Yeah, there's potential that when I spoke to her last, there might be one on June 11th, I think.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll figure it out between
Tricky.
us. Yeah. Yeah.
Technology Committee,
Haven't met,
huh?
we haven't met since the last.
And we're not meeting again until September.
Yeah.
We actually did meet though.
We met. Yeah, we met, you weren't there.
Yeah.
No,
we-
but we had a school board meeting after that meeting already,
Okay,
didn't we?
we're not meeting till the fall.
I think we
Yeah,
did.
you were
You're
there.
right.
Grant Writing Committee,
And we've met. We've actually, there's one grant that Betsy's looking at regarding, that provides grants for music programs. And there's two other STEM grants that you just sent out, that wasn't part
Oh,
of our
yes,
committee meeting.
yeah, I
so-
did some research and found published in foundations that
Right.
potentially could offer those.
Right, we also did, there are actually two foundations that I found that do provide grants for STEM programs. One's not due till September 1st, so it'd be time to be plenty of time to write it. So that's sort of where we haven't decided yet.
We're meeting again before the 10th.
Yes.
On the 10th.
So,
Great. Sanborn negotiations,
not for, does that have to be non-public or?
Well, actually, that's a question for the board at this point. And I think, let's see, we put that under non-public because it is strict. Actually, I had a discussion with Will Phillips about whether or not it's non-public or whether it's non-meeting. And he believed, he was very clear that it was not non-meeting, that it was non-public, and that we went through the entire card and looked at it and tried to figure out where it fell, and he said it has to fall somewhere here. And the only thing he could come up with, because he says you certainly can't talk about it in public, was
Leases,
91A3D, matters regarding acquisition, lease of property if public discussion would negatively impact the public body's bargaining position. He felt that there is a property right to a high school education, and that's where he can make his argument, so it falls under non-public.
Right.
So we'll talk about that later then.
Yes,
So it was, okay, there's nothing, okay.
so it's on the agenda for non-public.
okay. And as soon as we can release anything publicly, we will. Public input?
Sure. I just wanted to say, I thought the 2-year grant-funded curriculum coordinator sounds like a great idea, and I think that will help alleviate some of the stress in the school and help with morale, so I think I appreciate the thought put into finding that opportunity. And then I've already, spoken in the past regarding the unanticipated and unexpended unassigned, but the fund balance. I'm very much in support of the science lab and helping to get ourselves on the path to NEAS accreditation whenever that makes sense, and also the other maintenance items that were discussed in the past. And then the only other thing that I would comment on is the FEA concerns, and I read briefly the agenda packet, and so it's hard from reading something, sometimes you don't get all the context of the discussion, but I am in support of and I've, said that repeatedly, just trying to find some way that we can, in the right way, support the teachers and pass a contract that will help our district, will help us with budget planning, and also allow our teachers to feel that, they're being supported and recognized for all the work that they do, that there can be a win-win situation. So I'm, in support of whatever can be done to do that. That was a pretty vague statement that I just made, but anyway, that's all I have, thank you.
Angela, 63 Gristmill Road, Angela O'Connell, sorry.
I didn't say that, sorry.
Ditto what Sue said a lot about the unanticipated unassigned fund balance and so forth, the science lab being so important, as well as accreditation, and then also some of the maintenance that we've kind of put aside for the past few years. So really bringing us up to speed on that. Teacher contract, as Sue had mentioned as well. My one question about the school in need of improvement and the letter that just came out is really understanding why we didn't reach it, but then also what was our initial gap 3 years ago, because it says it's 3 years, and then kind of what the path has been. So 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, and this year, kind of what our path has been, and what that gap has been, and how we've narrowed it, because I believe we have narrowed it significantly.
Yes.
So I think that making sure we have that information, of course, school board, but then also for the public to have that, so we can also support all the work that you all do and the administration does with that information. I think that'd be helpful to have as well. That's it.
So,
Is that something we can actually get from John for his next principal's report? That's
I can request.
Okay.
so I wanted to talk to the parent. Okay.
Oh, sure, go sit over there.
I
No, I'm
know.
just kidding, I'm just
No,
kidding.
I am already official. There's a handout.
No, that's a great idea that he's talking about.
Yes, it
And you even have a spreadsheet.
I do.
Man, that for my own heart.
Yeah, okay. Great phrase, 46 minutes on drive. So here speaking as a parent, it's about the Lego Club. Last year we started the Lego Club. Last year we were able to start the robotics Lego Club at the school. And the kids had a great time. I want to try to do it again this year. So the second page, I have it in the wrong one, I apologize, is really what we're looking for money for. If we do one team or two teams. A lot of the expense last year was the actual Legos. It was $500 a bundle to get the Legos to two teams. So we have enough Legos for two teams. So what I did is I went through the handbook again, figuring out the cost, what their suggested costs were, and I just kind of added them together. I know there's money on the agenda. There's the unspent money. I forget what it's called. Unassigned. So I was hoping to, as you can see for this year, I need to register soon. So before July 1st, I need to register. And you can see for one team, it's $360. The two teams, it's $780. And then after July 1st, one team is $200. The two teams, it's $400. I have not approached the PTA yet. One of the concerns I heard about going to PTA for money was last year. Last year was kind of after budgeting season, so they helped out with it, but the person I spoke to thought that the PTA may see this as just sponsoring year after year the same club, and they want to get some other things out there, so I haven't talked to them yet. The spreadsheet is what comes right out of the book, what the money's for. Registrations is $225, field kits $75, shipping handling $60, touring fees $100, and the other $100 is just for miscellaneous stuff to get supplies. One of the things I was going to try to do this year was ask for a registration fee from the parents, $10. Nothing much, but just something to help get money towards it. That's not reflected in this, but something I'm going to try to do. And also I don't have shirts in here, so last year we got funding from outside business. We're just going to ask the parents to pay for the shirts if possible. So it's really stripped down bare bones of what we can do. So you may notice the numbers are a bit different between one team and two teams. If we do two teams, we actually have to build a table, so there's an extra $60 built in there that we have to build a Lego table. Besides that, the cost is pretty much identical to each. So when we talk about the money later, if we could just kind of consider this, that'd be great.
You talking $620?
No,
So in total would be the two teams,
$1,100.
$1,100, $1,200-ish some before July 1st and I need some next year. So I have it split into a cost before July 1st for 2 teams, $780. Before July 1st, just 1 team, $360. I've already talked to the coaches last year, and I had 3 coaches, including myself, that will step back up. So we should, I'm going to have to find another parent for a 4th coach, but we seem to have the coaching support there. From all the kids I talked to, they had fun, they want to do it again, so I don't think we'll have problems filling up 2 teams. And the other change that's noted on here is we had 10 kids last year per team. It was a lot for at least me on my team. We're looking at probably maybe cutting it back just to make it easier. There's a lot of kids, maybe as more experienced kids, and we can grow more. So that's the other big difference. As you see, I have on here kind of a soft cap of 6 kids per team. And it's really what they suggested in the handbook, but we went all out last year with 10, just because the interest was there. So that's the other big difference that I'm kind of looking at doing.
Well, we actually have enough interest to probably 3 teams if we wanted to, right?
So probably if we go with 6, yes. Because we had, I think it was close to 18 kids last year. And there's a child I had to turn away because it was after the registration point, right, to turn all the names in. So if we did that though, if we did 3 teams, we'd have to buy, essentially take team 2, make a team 3, but add 500. Because we'd have to buy another Lego.
So it'd be $2,400.
I didn't figure out what roughly.
No,
You'd have to,
$1,700.
1680.
Plus an extra 500 for the
Yeah.
Lego kit, so it'd be another 1,100.
we'd have to buy another Lego set, and that's $500.
Yeah. And if I could speak from personal experience, I didn't know you were doing this, Greg, so thank you very much. But my son actually participated in the Lego Club as well. And it was his first endeavor, his first exposure to a lot of different things. He's always played with Legos, but they actually got to take the robot home and program it and do different things on the computer. And to see him on a Saturday afternoon showing us, his parents, how to program different things, I was amazed, I was blown away by it. And then also his sister, her getting her involved, even though she was a kindergarten last year, he was 3rd grade, just, seeing how that excitement transferred on and how she wants to do it later on. And it's just a really neat ability to take even beyond what they learn in the classroom and put it to test. So it really carried over a lot, and it got other kids excited. And then also, they had to get up in front of some judges and present, so they had to work on their presentation skills, but first they even had to research and they had to interview people and talk to people about things, what their solutions, so they had to brainstorm. I mean, it incorporated so many aspects of just really good project work, teamwork, delivering it, and then really good STEM, like what we want to do in the future and what we want their skills to be. So it was a really, I think, priceless experience for those kids that were on there.
Huge portion is just teamwork. And beyond the Legos and all that, it's all teamwork.
The Legos are what attracts them,
Yeah.
but then everything else, and just the pride. And the other thing is it was our first year, so we did have some challenges and we learned through it. But, you could see the schools that have been there for a few years and kind of how they progressed and everything and how they've really built it up into a program that they do every year.
And
It's
the
really
coaches
cool to
learned
see.
a lot, so we're going to take what we learned and apply it. So,
So we had 2 teams this year,
yes.
but we only had 1 table?
We only had 1 table, we shared the table.
Okay.
So we had it at the school, we shared the table, hard. So we really want 2 tables so that we can leave the leave the Lego setup. It's also gonna open up so that, one of the things we've been trying with, depending on who's on the team, I'm gonna talk to parents and see if we can meet God at the school, it'll give us more flexibility to leave things set up and let's stay out of John's way and all that stuff. So yeah, we shared 1 table.
Now, who supervises the teams? You don't supervise both of them, do you?
No, so last year it was me, and I'm gonna mess up the name, me and like McDougal, I forget her
Oh,
name.
Rose McDougal?
Yes.
Yes.
So it was her and I on team, and then it was Carrie
Sabaluski.
There we go,
Sabaluski.
in Gen ID.
Okay.
So if we had a 3rd team, we have to find 2 more people.
We would. I mean, what I did last year was I just kind of sent out to the parents of, you don't need to know really any of it, none of us knew any of it, just really be willing to work with the kids.
Do the other teams from the other schools get funded by their schools, or do they get funded by businesses?
No, it was a wide variety. Some teams got funded by just the parents. It was
Oh,
just,
okay.
I mean, there was a team called, Me and My Best Friend or something like that. It was just kids that were friends and the parents did it. Some were schools, some were businesses, all over the place.
They even do it for Girl Scouts, I know,
Yeah.
and sometimes the Boy Scouts, they'd have different teams, different, you know, programs like that, I think it was a wide variety.
Yeah.
It seemed like most were schools,
A lot were schools,
but
but yeah.
there was a
they're-
wide variety.
Yeah. So,
I completely support the program, so I financially supported it last year, but can't this year. But I was happy to do it. So, I don't know how the school works with
Well, this
funding
goes when we
clubs,
get to the
so-
unexpended fund
Okay.
balance, we'll put it in there.
so-
And it's so, thanks, Greg.
Yep.
And thanks for all the work you do with that. It's a lot of work. It's good work. I need to switch it to informational items, financial statement from Sue Henry.
So basically, I think page 22 is where you want to be. I mean, you can look at anything you want, but page 27 of the packet is where you see the number figure.
So, okay. Imagine number.
So you see that it's about 196,000. The main thing that you should know is that about, let's see, I think it's 140,000 of that depends on function 1200, which is special ed.
Especially, yeah.
I did send an email to Sarah and Nan asking them, I sent them a list of their open purchase orders, basically saying, you know, this is what's open. Do you feel that you're gonna need these? And do you need anything else? Nan called me on Friday. We worked through things. I think we put maybe another $2,000 back into the budget. They didn't stress that they would be needing any additional. So the 140 right now seems pretty solid. If you look on page 10, 9 and 10, I guess, of the packet, that's where most of the 1,200 expenses are. A large portion of it are in the aid tutor lines, which is about 65,000, which is about half of the 140.
What line number is that?
Line numbers, 56, 57, and 58. I mean, at this point in the
So,
year,
Where's the,
It's 4 weeks left.
yeah.
where's the extended school year?
Yes, why?
Oops,
No problem.
I believe,
I don't see it. I see that salary extended school year and zero. Oh, here it is.
Page 40, I mean,
Page 40,
line
line
45.
45, okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's about $3,500 left in that line, 3458.
So okay, so that's, this is for last summer. And so
Correct.
next summer's coming,
Coming
okay.
up, yeah,
Gotcha.
next year's budget.
Yeah.
So, you know, most of the fund balance, most of the 195,000 is in this 1,200 function. The other big portion of it is in the 2,600 function, which is Scott's department. And I have met with Scott, and we pretty much went over everything, tooth and nail. And that, yeah, I know.
Hammer and nail.
And that number seems very solid, which is 43,000.
This is in the 26.
Right, which, you know, with some of the things that are in the wish list or whatever you want to call the thing that they're, you know, Christmas list, if you will.
Right, Sears,
if-
yeah.
You know, we're gonna be using a lot of that money towards stuff for him too. So
I
it's almost
agree.
going back to him, it's just in a different way.
Exactly, yeah.
And then it looks like athletic extracurricular has quite a bit of money left in it for the amount of money we put in there.
I want to ask a question about that line.
Let me look.
Which number is that?
1,400, it's on page 4 of 34. It's line 96 and on.
Yeah, you know what, I can explain that a little bit. It's got to do with,
Line 100?
yeah, there was a bit of a debacle. I think I've reported it in some of my previous statements that I was reconciling with New Hampshire Retirement. For some reason, any of the teachers that got a stipend or a coaching, well, that's a stipend too, but for extracurriculars and athletic coaching, the employer's share of New Hampshire Retirement wasn't coming out. So therefore, when it got charged and reconciled, I think it probably got charged to the 1100 function, where it probably shouldn't have been, but. I mean,
End of the year.
yeah, the whole New Hampshire Retirement thing was a mess.
We'd set up.
So that's probably why you see that variance,
Okay, so
especially
it
in that
probably was
particular
spent, but
line.
it's showing up in the other line instead of this
Exactly.
line.
I mean, I have it
Okay.
fixed now,
Mhm.
hopefully,
She's been-
yeah,
Okay.
thank you, yeah,
Okay, that's good.
That's really-
yeah, I know, not veneer.
The only question I had, on page 1 actually,
Yeah.
number 4, the attendance and sick time
Yeah.
rebates.
Go ahead, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we won't.
So did we have people take these rebates who hadn't taken them in the past? I mean, what?
I can't explain what happened in the past.
Right.
I'm gonna be
go there.
perfectly honest.
We will not be responsible for that.
The only thing I can tell you is what I did was, when I calculated that number, I had Yvonne sends out everybody's, I have it in here somewhere, but everybody's sick balance,
Right,
and they can sell back days.
right,
And that's what it's
What it
costing.
is.
Yeah.
What it is.
right. I think part of the issue in the past is we never budgeted it for,
Yes, fund balance.
if everybody did it,
Right,
we just sort of took an estimate based on history.
I agree, and that's, I have to be honest, that's what we did for next year, which is probably a little bit off. However,
Right.
the one thing I will tell you is there is one,
Yeah.
big one in there.
Can we
Yeah.
talk about that in non-public?
Yes.
Because I think I have a question about that.
Yep.
Which might clear up a
All
question
right.
that you're saying, because what you're saying isn't what's happening here.
And again, I
Okay.
know, you know,
Right.
again, last year, I think it was last year, Yvonne told us, there was another big to-do where there were something about the days they contribute to the sick bank and the days they, yeah, buy back. There was a little bit of a mix-up
There needs to
there.
be some
Really?
clarification and.
We weren't made aware of it at the school board.
No, I don't think it actually ended up being a monetary problem. It
Alright.
just, it was a bookkeeping problem where the teachers thought they were not getting all their days,
Alright.
but they were,
All
and,
right,
Yeah.
okay, whatever, all right.
yeah.
When we budget for contracted services of any kind, not just under age, under contracted services, but when we see contracted services, like we see it under OT, speech, all of those places, when we budget, what are we doing, predicting? Or do we actually carry contracts forward year after year for some students? Like, is it possible that there's a second grader who will need OT contracted services? And so you can book it ahead?
Yes.
Because it looks like contracted services in almost every category is over budgeted.
That's how, when I met with Sarah, for the second time after the budget was complete, when we were kind of going on a, you know, making sure everything, was satisfactory when we were looking, at the tuition lines and everything. I asked her that question, and everything she budgeted for, she says she feels is gonna happen. There was one exception. There was a student that she budgeted for that wasn't gonna go to the school, I believe, or something, but then we found out about another student that we're gonna get next year from out of state right now that was
Yes.
gonna take that
That
person's
spot.
place.
Mhm.
I mean, it's very close to the vest.
So is contracted services for like OT and speech for like the charter school and
It
things?
can be.
It, yeah, it's a variety of things.
Can it be an out-of-district placement?
Yes,
It can be.
yes.
Okay, and it would be under contracted services?
And the let me
Yes.
just look.
Not just 1,200, but like even under speech contracted services and
Oh, yeah, I believe,
OT contracted
Yeah.
services?
like I know, for instance, like there's a nurse in there for next year. There's, yeah.
You might say, because some of the outplacement contracts, some of them are all inclusive and some of them are
And some
not.
are not.
That's correct.
That's just, they do vary.
Right, so the ones that are not, we have to,
That's right, we have to predict.
Yes.
Mhm.
yeah.
And then they may not need it, or we have to
Right.
make sure that we have it if they think it's going to happen, or,
Mhm.
so it's very, quite variable. We'll get better with that as we get to know the budget
Yeah, as we
better.
get to know it
Yeah,
exactly.
Sue came in kind of in the crunch time and didn't get to do.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I wondered
mean-
how we budget for it, that's
Yeah.
all, like, in general, in
I
any
mean, I
other
went o-
district.
Yeah, I went over them
Would
with
it
her
be
again,
something
like
where you
I
have an actual
said.
contract in hand most of the time, or is it something you're just predicting?
I
It's
think
a
little-
combination.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I
It's a
think it's a
combination
little
of both. It should be an IEP and then the potential that you
Okay.
have.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
we
some
can't-
kids
did you
may,
say-
you know, I'm sorry, may, graduate from those services,
Right.
I guess,
Right.
if you will. They
Yeah.
may have it, you know, while they're in the 4th grade, but all of a sudden they're in the 5th grade and they may not need it any
Mhm.
longer.
Mhm.
But I still think she budgets as though they would.
And how
Okay.
about what would happen for, you know, some kids would have Medicaid reimbursement, some kids wouldn't? How does that, you would be,
That's under revenue.
so, but you would have this total amount, just say you got $50,000 and you got 50% back. Do you use that, do you pay for it all and then that comes back in? So it
Yeah,
kind
but
of washes
this-
it in different
yeah.
areas.
Medicaid is reimbursement.
Right.
And there's
Yeah,
also.
okay, so it's
so it's a
revenue that comes
revenue.
in, you're still
Yeah.
paying that same amount, but this revenue, okay.
And there's also a line in the 2330 function, where when you get, those reimbursements from Medicaid, because we use MSB,
Yep.
they take a percentage, and that's what we're budgeting for in the 2330 function, and you'll see that it's going over budget, but that's because we're
Getting
getting.
more
Right.
than we thought.
Right.
Yeah.
It only goes up if ours is going up, which is
Yes.
nice.
Mhm.
Did you say this already, because you probably did, the grant, the 55,000, can that be carried over?
Some of them, I believe,
Some
are
of them-
rolled over. The only one I think that's not able to roll over next year is the Title II-A 1213.
Right.
And John and I have been working very closely on making sure he's.
Spent everything.
Yeah.
Okay. that's
Right
it.
now, I think he's within a couple of $1,000s of
Okay.
I thought it was
spending the
closer than
total.
that.
And I think it ends up, it's like 2,100, I mean, it's
Ooh.
very,
I think it's
Close.
$5.
yeah.
There comes a time.
Get on
when they
that.
don't allow you to- Yeah. I mean, when the state says, you know, gets a
Use
hold
it.
of us and said, spend your money,
Yeah.
spend your money.
Mhm.
So the 11-12 of the Title II-A is gonna go away if we don't spend it?
The 12,
the-
it's the 12, the
It's a
one that
two-year
started in
grant.
12, yeah.
Oh, the 12-13? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it'd be 12, 13, 13, 14, the 2 years.
Right,
It's
exactly.
a 2-year
Okay.
grant, it closes out.
that's the only one I believe, because the IGA will roll over, the Title II-A, which is the 13-14 will roll over, the Title
Okay.
I will roll over, the focus school money, will that roll
The
over?
focus school money ends,
Okay, so there's.
but we get
another-
another 32, so that ends. And Title II isn't really rolling over, just the grant isn't over. Title I rolls over, and
Right.
it rolls over a percentage, but this year we
Rolls
will
over
allow.
and then it's.
Yeah, we got a waiver to roll over everything. We will not have that waiver again.
And the Title
One.
I, that's correct.
That's,
you won't.
this is the only year we can do
We
that.
gotta make sure we spend it.
Oh, we will.
And she's got plans, Melissa.
How much do we have for
Yeah.
Title I this?
42, or what?
It was
I'm not
about,
seeing anything on here. Where is
It was her salary, it all went to her salary.
Oh, yeah.
there was about 43,000,
Yeah,
I think,
something like
something like that, almost as much as the REAP.
Yeah, and it went all to her salary.
Mostly, and there was a little bit of money, like she paid $50 in dues.
Right,
There
there's
was
a-
$500 in homeless set aside.
Yes, there's a homeless set aside of 500,
Um,
it's required.
And there was one other, it was money we owed them
Yeah,
from the
that's right,
whiteboard thing,
$1,000,
yeah.
right.
So where is that
Was that
in this
reflected?
grant report?
Which one?
Title I?
Title one?
Revenue you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about the expenditures.
All right. So the under 11, wouldn't
Well, it's 22,
It's,
it?
Fed funds, so it's a 22.
yeah.
and it's, let's see, she's in the 1100s, that's correct.
22, 1100.
She's in line 510.
It's nice to be known as in a line.
Yeah, really, she's 510.
Oh, okay,
And,
so.
let's
I
see, what
see,
else?
To some extent. I just was looking
Yeah.
at
It
the title,
is.
see
It is
how
on
it's,
the
see
extent.
how there's Title I on page 28?
Title
Of
I covers a
34.
number of things.
There's a 2000 Title I, and it's all the lines, but they're all zero. That's why I wasn't,
Well, if you want, what I can do for the next time is, do you want a report from each grant? Because I
Just
can
run
run
it by
that
grant.
easily.
Yeah.
no, I just wondered, because when you were saying Title I, I didn't see anything.
Yeah.
So, actually expended out of Title I there, so that's why I was wondering.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but if you look under there, there's all kinds of things, there's REAP and,
It's all mixed in.
it is.
That's the way the report ran.
Yeah, I'll work on that for
Reports
next
can be
year.
rearranged.
Yeah.
Okay.
The way the functions are set up, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions about the financials or
No, I'm good.
comments or?
And it's still, you have to know, it's still rough.
Right. And do you need us to, do we need to, are you asking for transfers for like this, the 17,080?
Not yet, because I was gonna wait for one more statement to see,
If we could balance it out.
Okay.
you know, how
Making
much,
too many.
for instance, if you noticed, you probably didn't notice, but it's a couple of that $100 less than it was the last time.
Right.
Because a couple of teachers use sick days. Those numbers will be adjusted, you know, as we go along the next
Okay.
couple of pay periods.
Okay.
I didn't want to keep making transfers.
And because the bottom line is the bottom line, even if we don't have it in there, we have it somewhere in the budget.
That is
Okay.
correct. That's that 195, 922.75
Okay.
is your general fund surplus.
So, yeah, oh, that's 190 for general. So what, now where's this 251, 135,080?
That is the combination of your Fed funds and your general fund.
All right,
But you don't, you
You
can't
can't use
spend,
those.
right, the Fed funds you can't spend willy-nilly, you know,
Yeah.
you can't.
That's part of the grants.
Yeah.
You can't spend that on budget, I mean,
right.
On this little wish list.
on the wish list.
So part of that $251,000 will be spent on appropriate,
You mean the 55 that's left for the grants?
right,
Either that or will get rolled over, as we were speaking
all
about.
right.
Like I know Sarah was planning on rolling over a good deal of, not a good deal, but most of what she had left in the IDA grant because of unanticipated expenses that she knows are, I guess they're not unanticipated if she knows, but yeah, but what she knows what's coming
So
for
so
next
what we're
year.
talking about right now,
Is that 195?
195, that is
Yeah.
potentially what would be
Yes.
paid to the taxpayer.
Correct,
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Unless we decide to spend something.
yes.
Mhm.
Now, is that, let me just ask again, when we get to that, we'll ask that, because this money that you're proposing to spend, that doesn't come out of that amount.
Yes,
It
it
comes
was.
out of the
It
195.
does come
Yeah.
out of
This is,
195.
that's where it comes from.
All right.
And you've got the 350 coming back from the 2 prior years.
Right,
So
it's not
there's a-
coming, that's separate, that's going
So
no matter what.
350, okay, 350 plus,
Plus
That's
that.
correct.
Exactly,
Plus
so
that.
500,000.
Because the 350 is the 11, 12, and 12, 13.
1.5 million.
does
This
this
is
include
the
the
13.
$10,000?
No, actually, good point.
All right.
It's 10,000 less than that,
All
that's
It's
right.
185.
All right.
Okay.
I have one more question, sorry, just a second.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
and you need, yeah. but it's still a bit of a work in progress.
Right.
But,
We,
It's pretty close though.
yeah,
Right, yeah, we've still got
I need to ask about that.
6 weeks to go, so things could happen.
right.
I think I'm good, because a couple things I would ask in non-public. When we're in non-public, it's about personnel, so I think I can just do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Alright,
And then this,
yes, do we want to talk about what I had asked about? I just asked where we spent our tuition money this year, because you know how the GMR comes in higher than the actual tuition rate?
Right.
And BudCom, Greg always asks, where'd you spend the money that you didn't? Well, this is a really nice explanation of it, if you ask me.
and I give it to them.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yes, why not? So, you can see, if you look at this color sheet, I think, do you want to go over what's around?
Yeah, sure. If you look at the first half of the sheet, on top, well, first of all, you can also turn to page 3 of this packet, where you'll see the numbers that you see on this page. Your adopted budget was $3,643,342, basically. And that was derived, the best I could tell, by multiplying 226 students times 15,984.46, which
What was
was
that
your,
number again, 51?
it's on the purple page, but 15,984.46, which was your GMR from last
Okay.
year. That totals $3,612,487.96. The difference is exactly $30,854. And the notes that I found said there was one student going to the charter school and one student on a contract. The charter school we don't pay for, so it was a little bit confusing, but nevertheless,
You
it's
know what, we're
30,000.
gonna need those back. I'm sorry,
Okay.
we're gonna need those back.
Okay.
There just happens to be information that shouldn't.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I see that, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the difference is
Sorry.
$30,854. That one you can have, the white one, if you wanted it. So what I did was I actually calculated what actually happened this year. And the bill from Sanborn actually said 246 students they were charging us. But when I met with Melissa McKeon, I only found 234 names, so I immediately reduced the bill to 234 students. So we've been saving, giving them 12 students times $15,291 this year. We weren't paying that ahead of time. So that total comes to $3,578,150.16. We have 3 agreements, as you can see, plus Exeter Adult Ed. The total comes to $3,620,884.27. If you compare it to the adjusted budget, we're actually $28,686 in shortfall. In other words, we could potentially spend that, but if you look at the next page,
Shortfall means not.
means we don't have enough, like we
So
we're
we're not all
under
there.
budgeted
That's what I thought.
to a point. But if you take into consideration, I meet with Melissa McKeon on a pretty regular basis, knowing that somebody dropped out of school, somebody moved, somebody graduated early, all kinds of things. So what I plan on doing with Sanborn is taking the annual rate, dividing it by 185 days, and get a daily rate of $82.66 a day. And I already know, based on the meetings I've had with Melissa, that I've got approximately 499 days that I'm gonna have to adjust down. In other words, Fremont would get a credit. So that comes to $49,513. And if you subtract the 28,000 that I thought we were under budgeted, we're actually may turn back another 20,000, almost $21,000 to the taxpayers
And that's not included.
in that line.
And that wasn't that included, but what?
That's
you did.
absolutely right, it was not included in the 195.
All right.
And that's just for regular ed.
Right.
Special ed, if you turn to special ed, the next purple page, it's a lot closer. The difference is 4,645.58, and we already know, there's really no difference in special ed.
Right.
We did well with that one.
It's actually, yeah, and we'll talk about that in non-public for a minute too,
Yep,
because I think that one goes, I think that 4,000 goes away.
okay.
But it doesn't matter. It's
Well,
all
and,
in the
but,
same
but
kitty
there
as far
are
as I'm
actually,
concerned.
on the very last page, no, the second to the very last page, there are some adjustments that I have to special ed as well. So it's maybe another $3,000 that could be added to that 195, along with the 20.
I have a sort of question, trying to understand this right. The, on the very first page,
Mm-hmm.
where it says GMR, the 3,612,487.96,
Yep,
that is what, that's the money that we first had raised when we got the GMR from Kingston before we found out the final figure, right?
that's right. So if you take the 15,984.46 and subtract from it the 15,291.24, that's 700 and 680 something dollars is what you, how they overcharge, I mean, that was the
Per
difference in the GMR,
Yeah.
right, per student.
They guesstimated time.
Except, they only budgeted for 226 students, when you actually had 234.
We only budgeted for two.
Well, yeah, well,
But
they meaning.
was-
Yeah.
I think the original intent for asking for this was to find out, if I understood it right, we budgeted it at, we only
At the
needed
GMR.
Y, and then we had, Z left over, where do we put Z?
But the
Right.
fact is,
Yep.
the budget was for 8
Yeah.
less students.
We under budgeted, so there was no place to put anything.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah, if we had 226 students
Right,
instead of 234,
Right.
then
We'd
we
be at
would
the
have,
creek.
we would have had a much bigger.
Yeah.
Alright.
right, we'd have
That's
we'd have the gap that we
Quite
had.
frankly, it's not hard to figure out how many
No,
high
no.
school students you have going to the high school either, because you just take the senior class out because they graduated, plus maybe unless there's a stayover. And,
Exactly.
and then you have the eighth grader, eighth grade move up,
Yeah.
And you
plus
build
any of
in,
your charter school kids.
right, and you build in a little for maybe a transfer or
Right,
a
right.
Now, my
Couple
understanding
placeholders.
is that if our
I don't know how to talk.
enrollment goes down, our
Cost per pupil goes up.
cost per, yeah, the GMR goes up because of the capital expense.
You gotta spread it, yeah.
Well, it's not the capital expense. It's just that it costs, if it costs $10 million to run the high school, which is, I know it's wrong,
Right.
and you divide it by 50 kids,
Right,
you're gonna have, it's gonna cost you X. You divide it by 40 kids, it's gonna cost you more.
X.
Yeah, but my understanding is because we have to pay an expense for the capital fee above and beyond tuition,
Right.
that if we have fewer students,
That's
the
so- that's
amount
gonna go
per
up.
student
But so
goes
is
up.
tuition.
No, capital
No,
cost
cap's
stays the
fixed.
same,
Yeah, the
always.
bonds are fixed.
It's capital cost is fixed.
well, they
No.
haven't been, they've been varying a
No,
little bit
no.
over the years.
No, wait, let me understand
It
it.
should be
The
fixed.
capital cost is fixed, but what we pay per student on the capital cost can change based on enrollment.
Oh, that's right, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
right,
right, he's
right.
right. It would move, there's X amount of dollars for the bond divided by the number of students. You have fewer students, the capital costs go
I
up.
don't look
Right.
at that sheet.
That's what happens.
Yeah, the cost is still fixed, but the number of students changes the cost.
That's why when our
Yeah.
enrollment goes down, we don't always have a lot of savings
Right.
because the capital
Costs
costs
go
go
up.
up per student.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's right.
But anyway, that's basically, and then there's another sheet, a white sheet that,
I see that.
I know that doesn't want.
Oh, you wanna see it?
Yeah, I
Yep,
think
okay.
don't think I grabbed that.
Yep.
She didn't give it to us, she
Oh,
was
she
just showing, she was just showing it to us.
Oh, she
Back
just,
again.
Here, you can look at it, give it back to her though.
then there's this sheet here, the budget adjustment one. This shows you actually, you made $51,143.82 of transfers this year. And it shows you where the money was
yeah, I
transferred
didn't
to.
see that.
Yeah.
I don't know where
Okay. Are those,
Nothing. This was just like somebody.
oh, I thought you were just gonna pass them down. when you do it.
No, it's the white sheet.
Perfect.
Okay, that's what I thought, inside here.
Yeah, but there's another white one.
Like that? Yeah, I saw that, I don't know what to do with it.
I didn't get that.
You know something? I may have them all.
I don't think what happened when we passed it around, I don't think I grabbed it, that's why.
Okay, I've got page one. But I don't have that many of them.
Hoarding.
Yes, I just like to hang on to that stuff, I gotta tell you. More paper.
So that just explains to you the transfers that were made,
Thank you, Greg.
where they were transferred to.
The adjusted tuition, because we did take money out of there throughout the year to pay for other
But
things.
2,133 was very legitimate, that's the SST, it's a student that's going to SST
Right.
probably.
Right. Oh, we approved them all, so they're all legitimate.
Yes. They are all legitimate, and you can be blamed for them.
That's right.
So anyway, that's it in a nutshell. Does anybody, oh, thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
So I've added them up, but these numbers, I assume, add up to this $30,000 difference, or?
No, the $30,000 difference is the difference between your adopted budget
Mhm.
and the students that were actually budgeted to go to Sanborn. That 30,000 was left over, the 30,854 was for other contracted,
High school tuition,
that's
Okay.
correct.
public high
Outside
school
of-
tuition.
So is this all money we took out of the tuition line?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
So we took out 51,000.
$143.82.
Let me add, now if you subtract that from what,
No, it's right here, Andy, it's the budgeted adjusted.
oh, it's
On
just
page
the
one
budget, okay,
of
good.
the purple
I'm
sheet.
asking,
I know, I'm
about.
trying to help Greg
All right,
follow this. Greg, so if you're on that purple
All right.
sheet, the
Yeah.
first sheet, see the adjusted
okay, that's
budget?
the adjusted budgets, that includes
Way
the
at the
amount that
bottom.
we
Look at this
transferred out
page
of
too.
it.
Adjusted budget, 3,592,000. So what we did is we took what we budgeted, and then we took this much out of it,
Right.
Yeah.
and that brought you to the 3,592.
And you can see that, Greg, more
Right.
clearly
That's-
on this white,
Oh, okay.
the first white page
Okay,
Of the purple group.
But we didn't have as much money in there as we thought, but it turns out.
okay, so it goes in.
Well, mine has
That
to be
is the way to-
Yeah,
the way to
exactly.
explain it.
That's why I asked for this, because
Yeah.
it was impossible to figure it out
Yeah.
unless you were
You
Sue.
see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you were Sue.
Yes, that's right. But she has it and it's in the right place.
And she has all of the information she needs to actually dig through
Yeah,
and figure it
That's
out.
right.
There's a million moving parts,
There
but
are a
So we
million.
don't need to transfer money back in the budget line because the way it worked out that.
Because of those
Got it. Right.
half-a-day kind of kids that I'll be
Right.
adjusting on a per diem rate
Right.
basis.
So that worked, so it
We're
worked
making
out.
sure that not
They
an extra
did.
cent goes anywhere.
So next year we got some.
Did we do those day adjustments before?
Yeah,
too?
and
yes.
So
Mo-
the school
all
board only did
those-
those?
All those adjustments were made before me, except
Yes.
for the last one, which when I was trying to figure out that $200,300 or whatever it was, that was grant money, I was trying to find, God, I was trying to take, remember, out of the
Yep.
general fund, because that was growth budgeted and
Right.
whatnot. I mean, the big thing is, I think that we didn't give them, 12 students times 15,291.24, we didn't front load them,
Right,
Right.
so.
good. We
Okay.
can,
I've
right.
got a
Yeah,
request
they
for
want
a
to do
recess for about 5 minutes, so we're gonna just recess for 5 minutes and we'll be right back. Okay, so we're back in session, and were we finished up with this pretty much?
The only thing I was gonna add was, we talked before that one of the things I think I'm gonna do this year is segregate Sanborn tuition line into its own line,
Oh, good.
so we can follow
put it
it.
away.
Because it's such a hot issue.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we want it to be as clear as possible.
I want everybody to be able to follow it all year long,
Oh, good.
yeah,
Great.
so.
Yeah.
They bill us monthly, right?
No.
No.
Quarterly?
Quarterly.
Yeah. Any other questions for Sue? Action items, budget transfer requests. So, we have a $12,000 transfer for legal, right?
Yeah.
And that's from, it's gonna come from repair plant building to go to legal,
Yes.
So what were legal expenses?
you name it.
Yep.
What do you wanna talk
Say, where do you
about?
wanna
got a lot of,
Well, we have negotiations this year, but then we also have the tuition contract.
right.
And there's a
Few
couple other
other
things.
That $40-something thousand that we saw for plant repair, does that include this 12? or
For
is it-
what?
The extra $40,000 that Scott had. That's where this is coming from, yes? No?
Well, no, well, it will come from there, but again, if you look at the legal line,
It's already.
I've already-
That's why I was
It's already
digging
out
for.
there.
so
Yeah,
it's like
that's
I
it.
just said before, it's kind of,
Yeah,
Yeah, that 195 is solid.
okay,
Exactly.
that's,
That's the bottom
I was
line.
trying to get to.
Yeah. Good, okay.
This is included in that, like it's already out of there.
right,
Um,
but we have bills that are coming in now,
Yeah,
and
We're
then,
anticipating those.
And then we also have the, we wanted to have 2,380 from replace computer equipment to go to replace equipment of the REAP grant. It's like,
Right.
that looks like a grant transfer.
it is, it's a wash
Okay.
in the REAP
Okay.
funds,
Right.
And those are the only two you had, right?
for the time being,
Yeah, and then she'll need to
So it
reconcile
totals
along.
14,380, right?
that's correct.
Motion
So,
to,
go ahead.
motion to approve the transfer of the two items, total 14,380.
Second?
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the sheet's coming around for you guys to sign, please. Because we're signing for the transfers. It's a good idea. Okay, 2-year grant-funded .4 FTE curriculum coordinator proposal.
Okay, I think I pretty well spelled it out in the sheet if you
Yeah.
read it, and the job description with it, so that you know very pointedly what this person would be responsible for. I see it as a 2-year position, I don't see it beyond that unless they come up with a whole new curriculum that we have to do, but it would relieve administration to focus on some other things, and give us a chance to get done some of the things that we want to see done that we haven't been able to get done.
Can their name thing actually say CIA on it?
CIA.
I like it.
I don't know, that might be a problem.
Reports to the superintendent.
Yeah.
That's it.
This would be an administrative position, sir.
Yeah. I think it's a phenomenal idea. I think it's a great use of grant money. Is there a motion on the floor to accept this?
Make a motion to accept the recommendation.
Second. Okay, let's discuss. Any questions, answers?
No, the
Comments?
only comment I would have.
Because I commented first. Sorry.
No, only comment I would have is, I know a number of years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, there was an issue about using, hiring a curriculum firm that was out of the general funds, out of 1100 line.
Right.
And, you know, it didn't go over very well. So I think he is, you know, letting people know that these are grant funds, so there's revenue, usual expense, we're using money that we'd be spending on something else anyway, so we're spending it on a curriculum board, which I think would be great. I think it would free up, it would free up your time, it would really help the teachers.
And it being
Yeah.
time-bound, I think is important.
Yes.
You know, that I think is an important thing.
It's 2 years.
So
There's no obligation after that, right? You know how
No.
some grants, if you write them, then they say,
Right.
after they've created a position for you for 2 years, you have to keep it for 2, or you
This
have
is-
to owe
this
them
is-
back money?
no.
Okay.
Has
So we
not-
already have,
Okay.
No,
we already have the grant next year?
yes. Well, we will have it. It will have at least that much.
Well,
If it moves, it only moves a little bit.
Now, is this contingent on us getting the grant 2 years
Yes,
in a row?
yes.
that's why it's a 1-year
Yes.
contract.
It's a
If we
1-year
don't get it, we can
contract.
just
It will be
not-
tied to the grant money.
Right.
If we don't get the money, we don't get the position.
Because those will be the concerns about.
Yes.
the-
We will make
Just like
sure.
any other grant funded position, it will say it in their contract contingent upon grant funding.
Yeah, and it'll be a 1-year
Yeah.
contract, renewable, you know, if we're satisfied.
Yeah,
Not satisfied, we'll hire somebody else.
okay,
Yeah.
I like it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, FEA concerns.
Yes. Some questions about this?
So I think I explained it pretty fully. I do have a full copy of the law if anybody needs it.
Yeah, I just, my question is, let me look at my question. It doesn't say in this presentation what the concern was. What was the, what was the incorrect statement they're saying that was allegedly made? I certainly would like to know what that is.
They, at the time, Sharon Girardi was sitting in the audience because she was no longer on
I
the
remember
school board.
that,
She was the
right.
town clerk at the time.
Right.
She was going out of office.
Mhm.
And she said that a special meeting, you needed 50% of the voters present voting in order to have anything happen in a positive or negative fashion, I think is what she
50%
said.
of the voters on the checklist.
Right, on the checklist.
The checklist is the registered voters.
Right.
50% of the
So
registered
she did
voters.
not misspeak.
No, she
That-
didn't.
She didn't.
So,
It's the checklist, the voter checklist is the registered voters of our town.
Right.
She did not misspeak. It's not just the people who show up at deliberative session who get to vote at the special meeting, or who showed up at voting day to vote. It's the registered
So
voters.
is that what they're saying? They're saying that it's 6% of people who, that the number of people, the past, let me see, we don't need to have any more people vote on this than we were at the last deliberative session, and 50% of those people vote yes, and they can do that. Is that what they're saying?
I don't know what they're saying.
I don't know what they're
They're
saying.
saying that, well, they're saying that they believe Sharon Girardi misspoke when she said that 50% of the registered voters in our town would have to show up and vote in order to pass something at a
Right.
special meeting. They said she misspoke about that,
Oh.
So
okay?
the-
And they think that because she misspoke, it may have swayed the board in voting in a negative way for the revote based on that information.
Oh,
so
that's-
what I walked away
that's not
from
why
what Sharon
we're
said was 50% of the registered voters had to show up. So if we had 1,000 people registered voters, 500 had to show up.
So I would have to
That-
vote.
Registered voters.
So there, that's, so that's what I walked away with then. When I read this, I don't know what it was, I got the impression that it was 50% of the people that were at the session.
No.
Where does it say
So
that?
I don't know
It
about,
says, it says the checklist, your voter checklist is your registered voters.
It says, it
It
says,
never says the number of people who came in and voted the first time get to vote the second time and not the first time.
it says, meetings shall be equal in number to at least 1/2 of the number of voters of such district.
Entitled to
Vote at the
vote.
regular meeting next.
Entitled to vote.
And if the
That
checklist
means all
was used at the last
registered.
regular meeting, the same shall be used to answer a number of legal voters, et cetera, such as may be used at such special meeting upon 10 legal voters of the district. In any
so
case,
bottom line, do we need at least, if we had 1,000 people, do we need at least 500 there? Or how many people do you need at a special meeting, do we know?
Well,
50% of your registered voters.
unless, yeah, because there's also a court ruling on that.
Right, and it's because
Right.
there's a lot of good reasons for it in the democratic process.
I mean, the court ruling was that it had to be 50, there had to be a number equal to 50% of the registered voters in town had to vote
At a special meeting,
at a special, to raise money, not at.
raising money at a
raise
special
money,
meeting.
Right, to have a special meeting, you don't need that, but to raise money, yes, you do.
So in order to answer their concern,
Right.
though, what their point is that they felt that information swayed us as a board into voting the way we voted about the revote. And so we have a couple of choices here. We can just leave our vote the same if we feel
Right.
comfortable with that from that night,
Right.
understanding that there was confusion with this statement that a public person made during the meeting, or we can revote tonight about the revote. The
Well,
board can,
you can choose to
you know,
take no action.
or we can take no action, right? We can just let it stand, the vote that we took originally, because
choose
it
to.
hasn't changed, so it's up for discussion.
I would like to say that I did not vote no because of what Sharon said. I voted no because no means no.
Mhm.
And the public said no twice, you know, and that's why I said no. And I think, to be honest with you, everything I read as far as legality is concerned, we legally can't have another vote on this because the voters have already said no twice. You know, it's not, so,
There is,
no means no.
I think we were told that there is a legal way that a board can petition the Superior Court.
not.
Listen,
Okay.
listen. We can petition the Superior Court for a special meeting based on some kind of,
When the school board votes to petition the Superior Court for permission to hold a special school district meeting, etc. So you can do that.
All right. Yes, yes, you can do that.
And it defines emergency. I didn't include the rest of the law in there. If anybody wants to see it, I'm going to do
But
that.
I still think that that just talks about petitioning for a special meeting, but it doesn't talk about no means no. I mean,
No.
and that RSA does not talk about no means
Just
no.
gives you
And
the
no-
allowable reasons
And
for meeting.
and the RSA's are very clear, is that when something's voted no, you can't bring it up again. You know, I mean, you can't bring, now, I suppose if we renegotiate a whole new contract, and
It would have to change, the
it would have
contract
to
would
change.
have to
We
change
cannot
in
bring,
some,
we
can't
cannot
go
bring,
back to the same
we can't
one.
bring the same
No,
contract
that's
up
true.
again. That is illegal.
yeah, you
And,
have to change
uh,
something in the contract.
It's not, yeah.
And then the other legal opinion we received was that they wouldn't recommend it
Right.
for us as a
Right.
board. So, but it, I mean, there is a legal way to do it, if you want to, if you even agree to that. And I agree with you, Andy, I've been to enough budget law conferences where they beat you over the head with a no means no.
No means no.
If the voters say no to a warrant article, no way can you spend money on that
Right.
item. And so,
Not only did they say
you know,
no, they said no to reconsideration.
I know.
So
Right.
Well, they said no to a special meeting.
No, you're right, so they said no
to
twice.
Well, so-
an additional.
What the
Right.
union wanted to do was to change the contract slightly, in some way, so that you could hold a special meeting.
Well,
That's how it would be
So
done.
how many people, so this part I just want to make sure, because for me, that does make a big difference if it's
Mhm.
500 people versus 100 people. So we need half the town registered voters, so 500 people, potentially 9, it's 900, like
I
50
think
registered
it's,
voters.
no,
No, it's
no, that's
2,000.
just who voted.
It's
We have
2,000
a lot more
registered
voters on the register
Okay,
than
so-
that.
there's like 2,200 registered
Ask
voters.
at least half of the number of voters of such district entitled to vote at the regular meeting.
So that, there's like 2,200 registered voters in Fremont.
I
So
don't know
we-
how many. I'd have to ask somebody.
So
Is it about right?
let's say you
Yeah,
need,
that's about right.
you know, a lot of people, half the town, 1,100 people. If we tried to hold this, and we need to, if we tried to hold this, we'd have to spend the money. If 1,100 didn't show up, we'd all go home
Yep,
for no reason.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And not only that, Greg, but all 1,100 would have to vote yes.
I know, I understand that. I'm just trying to get my head around the number. Because
That's not happening.
okay,
it's not gonna
No,
happen.
it's not gonna
It's not gonna happen, so, okay.
Well, yeah, you'd have to, well, actually, the special meeting would be, you'd have to deliver a session, and then you'd have the vote. The
You have to
ballot
go to the
vote.
ballot vote,
Yes, you have to
Yes,
go to the
you have to have
ballot
the
vote.
two
1,100
sessions.
people would have to vote
Yeah.
on the ballot.
I'd like to,
We never had
I'd
that.
like to do it, but we're not gonna get the
So the
number.
question is whether or not the board wants to take any action at all, or to take action on it.
I would just like to hear if anybody feels that, even if it was misstated, which I don't believe it was, did it affect your vote?
No. No, I really, felt that the voters said no to both. And to me, it's even bigger than that, because not only was the teacher's contract turned out, but it was the para's contract, and it was other very important things in our town. And I just don't feel it would be right. And it's not that I don't support our teachers, I do wholeheartedly, but that's what our town decided upon.
Mhm.
And who are we to change that? And do we really want to cause bad blood like that? How are we going to get anything to pass?
Well, I tell you, there's one thing the teachers can do. They can vote out their union, and then we can put their salaries in their regular budget. Wouldn't have the special warrant article for them, and they can get the money they wanted. That's.
I don't think the
that's
board is
not-
gonna take any action on that.
No, we could take action on that, but that is
I
something the
would
teacher.
caution you to make
Yeah.
such statements, because it indicates into negotiation in bad faith, so be very careful with
All right.
comments like that.
So, as far as,
Yeah.
my belief is what was just stated, so I don't think I got that wrong impression last meeting. For what it's worth.
Okay, so do we have a consensus to just leave the vote, let it stand, understanding what we understand?
Because
Okay.
there's no way we're gonna get past, so yeah.
So no, moving on.
Okay. Personnel,
Okay.
OT position nomination.
Yes, we have an
Yay.
OT, and she comes to us from Easter Seals, 7 years there. She comes with a great reputation, and everybody's very excited to have her. You see her salary and how that worked out there, so.
And she's gonna start June 9th.
June 9th.
Okay.
That's correct.
And we have contracted till then?
We have contracted to then, and a little bit of overlap for orientation purposes.
Okay, good. Okay, do I have a motion?
I make a motion to accept the nomination of Brianna Phillips
Second.
for occupational
Oh,
therapist.
sorry, second. She's phenomenal.
Okay.
Absolutely. Did I say it like twice or 3 times?
All those, any other discussion or
I
accolades?
think she's phenomenal also.
All righty.
I don't know, but I'm sure she'll do a great job.
But she sounds like a lovely person.
She is.
All those in
She is.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then we have another nomination for.
Yes, an unknown woman known as Hallie Willett,
That's wonderful. Well, she better be going to you by now, a little bit, anyway.
who, they were absolutely thrilled to get, to replace Kathy Richard. And I think you probably all know her relatively well. So she'll be coming in, starting off at the base, so.
Mhm.
And she is a certified teacher. Yes, she is. at this point, so that's a plus for us.
Excellent. Wonderful.
I'm going to make a motion to accept the nomination of Hallie
Will that,
Letts for a paraprofessional position.
do I have a second?
Second.
Salary different.
And there's no problem with family and all of that, with any of our policy? No. Okay.
So, I don't know who she related to.
Yvonne?
Yvonne Stoddard.
all right. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, everybody, half the people are related to the other half of the people in that school anyway, so.
That's where I work. Yeah.
Oh, that just sounds so wrong.
Anyhow,
Small
I just
town.
wanted to make sure, because I know we do have some policies that are careful
Yes.
about
Yes,
these
of
kinds of
course.
things, and I'm sure.
They're not getting married.
Yeah,
Well
good.
said.
All righty. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't think very often else.
Okay, and then we have sad news.
Yes, we have sad news.
Amber Bishop.
Amber Bishop has resigned to take a position at the Wyndham High School, and we will regret her resignation. We already regret it, but she's going to be making $15,000 more there.
Good for her.
So,
That's what I said.
yeah.
Okay,
I make a motion to accept the nomination with regret.
her resignation.
Resignation.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And unanticipated fund balance disposition. We all know what is on here. We've already talked about it before. Betsy got, it looks like some clarification. So, we'll listen to motions.
I still would like to take the music keyboard for music classes out of the frost fund. We have to have a public hearing to do it and then make a vote on it, but
How much is there left in the trust fund?
We have about $7,000.
$7,000.
We've never taken anything out of there.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Well, I mean,
accumulate
we
more than
haven't
2%
as a
a
board,
year.
we always take it out of the other one, the
Okay.
capital.
Well, that's for capital, yeah, the frost fund wouldn't be for capital.
Right.
That's for educational purposes.
Just hear about the frost fund a lot, that's all.
I know, I bring it up all the time, that's why.
So, but how long does it take to build that $2,000 up?
It only accumulates,
1% a year.
yeah, a few cents a year, basically.
Okay.
It's just very slow. If you knock it down to 5,000, it's gonna probably take it another
Yeah.
10 years to get back to 7.
Unless interest rates change and then you get more.
Would it be worth holding it there? Is there more of a rainy day fund or?
It was really put there to buy things for the school, and
Okay.
you know, that's what it was set up for.
It's reasonable to knock it back to $5,000.
Yeah, it's really.
It's just sitting there otherwise.
Okay,
Excuse me.
so you, do I have, so you want, do you have a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion to, table the purchase of a new music keyboard for classic music classes for purposes of
You don't need to
delivering
table
what you got.
You don't need to table it, you can just say fund it out of.
Okay.
Just make a motion to fund it out.
Okay, make a motion.
And then we'll do it in a public meeting
Right.
at the next time,
Right,
then we'll do the
yeah,
official.
make
We'll
music to
post it.
fund the number 7, a new music keyboard for music classes out of the frost fund.
Okay. And we'll have a hearing next time.
That's a motion on the floor, do I have a second?
A second.
Any discussion or questions on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So hearing for.
I think it can just be at one of our school
Yes,
meetings.
it can,
Yeah,
it's
it
just,
would.
we've got this selectmen at 6 to 6:30. So, I mean, we can do it 5:45 to 6 o'clock.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
or you can do it before, you can do it anytime during the meeting too. You can just suspend the meeting and have a public
That's
hearing. You don't have to do it before the meeting.
Then that might be better.
Okay.
You could post it for like 7 o'clock, and then we just stop whatever we're doing and have the public hearing.
That makes
do the
sense.
vote.
Okay, so I'll do that.
Okay. Any other comments, questions, or changes that you'd like to see on the spreadsheet?
I saw the justification for the office chairs.
If that's what you call it, yeah.
I can,
Anyway,
it was in
do I
the-
have any, do
Oh,
I
yeah.
have a motion for any of this, some of this, all of this, what?
I'd like to make a motion for the rest of it.
So it's 119,000.
Do you wish to address the Lego?
Oh, so that's why I was holding up, I didn't
Oh, yeah.
want to shoot myself in the foot.
That's right. You add the Lego, now, the thing about the Lego is, what I would like to do, I mean, it's too bad we didn't include in the budget for this next year. I tried. But I think it would make sense that, when as we formulate our budget for the next fiscal year, that we seriously consider putting it in the budget.
It's on the list.
And I'd like to put it like, enough for 3 teams,
Yeah.
or maybe even 4. Because we had 20 kids the last time.
So what do you recommend for tonight?
Can I ask you something about that though, for the Lego team? We have a union,
Mm-hmm.
and if you start to fund clubs like this out of the budget, do we not have to give them a stipend to run those clubs first? Isn't that how our contract reads?
I would have to go and look carefully at the contract.
Is that if a teacher ran them now? Is that what you're talking
Yeah.
about?
Will they get first, I mean, I
It's
believe.
usually first refusal on something, but very often, and I know it's not done in this, very often the clubs are actually named in the
Yeah, I
contract.
think they are.
They are, so if
Yes.
it's outside of that, I think you're okay.
Okay.
It's just the stuff that's in there. I'll
Just
check
wanted
to be
to make
sure,
sure.
but I'm pretty sure that's the case.
I
Otherwise, you
just
couldn't
didn't
start
wanna-
anything new.
Right.
Do we delay the vote on that till we know that information?
No, I don't recommend it. I can come back with the changes necessary, but we need to move ahead on
All right.
some of these things, so.
Okay. So why don't we do the spreadsheet and then do the Lego club?
Yeah, because then I can abstain from the,
So this would reduce our unexpended fund balance from 195.
185.
185 to like a 160 to 60,000 something, right?
Okay, so how much
And
of
that's
the,
if it doesn't change.
how much are we looking at for the Lego? I'm trying to get some figures here. You'd want to do the 2 teams this year, you want to do 3, what is the? What's the
I don't
general
know.
consensus?
I mean, I think 2 teams is fine, don't you?
I
This
think
year,
2 is
yes,
good for
this
now.
time, right
All
now.
right, so we would need $780.
No.
No,
We
the
need
1,200,
1,100.
Well,
1,000.
but
No.
I cut it into 2 and 2.
Before July 1, you
Yeah.
need $780. Not, the other money has to come out of next year's budget because it would be expended
Oh.
next year.
Okay.
That's what got me in trouble last year.
So-
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 780.
Did you need the table though too?
But the
I mean,
table can be bought after July 1st.
But it can be bought now.
It could be bought now.
Yeah, you can buy supplies, you just
Yeah.
can't pay for services,
Yeah.
or stipends or anything like that. Or fees after. 'cause
Is there anything on this
So does
list?
this go under activities or what is this?
Probably
Yeah.
1,400, yeah.
Okay.
Is there anything on this list? I mean, I'm just a little bit concerned that we're only leaving us $60,000 in breathing room.
Well, remember you, I mean,
Andy, there's a whole other line on here called anticipated encumbrances.
All right.
Those are pretty real.
Okay.
Yeah,
those are pretty real. If you-
Just so you know though, those are not in the encumbrances though. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's another whole,
Right.
I know it's real, but I'm just saying that's a lot of money in that.
there is a lot of
I
money.
mean,
Because, I mean, yeah.
The other thing,
121,000
The other way you can couch this in such terms that if you wanted to approve the list and add Legos or whatever you wanted to, if there was a shortfall, we would come back to let you know that we were to go backwards on the list to say that we don't, at this point, we don't feel that we can purchase this or do that or what.
Where's that?
But I think,
Oh, yeah.
we've got 4 weeks left of
Anticipated
school.
encumbrance is right here. Hold on, let me try to record it.
So you're saying $70,000, $60,000 anticipated encumbrances is what she's asking.
Yeah, those are things we're pretty sure we're gonna spend.
This is, right, the anticipated encumbrances in addition to the regular encumbrances.
Right.
okay?
They're things that don't have purchase orders or
Right.
payroll accruals, but they're
Right.
very solid numbers.
Yeah.
Right, right.
So there's this, and then this is like, after this, the things that she's accounted for that are not in the encumbrances.
We'd have to spend
There's this
$60,000. We'd have to spend to come down to what we had here at that time. The likelihood of that is extremely.
Yeah, because all the other things are in there.
Are in there already.
They're in the
Yeah.
encumbered.
I mean,
part.
I'm just gonna still caution you that more than half of this is, if the 1200s don't have any surprises between now and,
They'd have to have a really big surprise
they
for
would,
4
but
weeks
but I
left.
still feel like it's my obligation to say.
I would almost say, because it's the end of the year, and because I know we have, right now, in the coming year, there's quite a bit of money we have set aside from different savings, from different staffing changes and all of that I've been clocking. That I would almost say that the science books and the brain pop could just come out of next year's budget, because we have plenty of money to do that. I'm tracking.
Okay, the
what
only
we're
thing
saving.
the caution that I want to throw in there is that we don't know insurance. When we save money on a position, we don't know if that person's taking insurance.
Right.
That they could cost more than the prior position. So that's always has to be in the back of your mind.
Mhm.
There's a possibility of a big increase in our insurance premiums this fall.
Well, the insurance premiums are not going to increase, but let's say if one person left and they had a single person plan, and you hired a person at a lower salary and saved 10 grand, they may take a family plan for $24,000.
Now, when do we hear about, when do we get the estimates for insurance premiums?
That's all
We've
done.
already
That's
settled
done.
that.
That's so done for
They were in.
fiscal year.
You've already set it aside.
Right,
You
right.
already set it aside.
So they did that last fall.
Yeah.
No, we did it
No,
a few
Andy.
weeks ago.
And
All
we
right.
put it into the contingency fund into the school board, all the GMR versus the actual for health
Right.
insurance.
All right.
We moved that into a contingency fund for
We
the
need another
2014-15
All right.
year. I have it right here if you want to
So
look at
that's,
it, we just did it all
Yeah.
together, the board.
Yeah, we just, I would just caution you to use position money at this point to say that we have money in the budget, because we don't know. We don't know until these people come in and not take insurance.
Well, I think the things that are extremely important to get started on is these things that actually take some time.
Your first 5 are the ones that require RFPs and estimates to go out, except for 4, because it's under 5 grand. Those are the ones that we need the time to work on. The ones below that, desk chairs can be purchased at any time, the keyboard you're going to be taking out anyway, so brain pop can be paid for before school begins. The science books are expensive, but they can wait until the June meeting. And the air duct cleaning, which we really should do,
We have to.
Yeah, we've always
doesn't
met.
have to be, does that have to be, it does have to be RFP.
Yes, it
Yes,
would,
it
yeah.
does. So 10, so 1 through 5 and 10.
And isn't there an extra 21,000 coming back from Sanborn too?
Probably.
Yeah, that's true. We didn't think about that.
You did, but you mentioned that.
I did.
Yeah.
mention that. Hopefully.
Not
Yeah,
solidified modified, yes, do you know
So
what I
we
mean?
could do
It's
1
kinda
through 5,
like-
1 through 5 and 10, start those now.
Yes,
And then we'd have time
I'll bring back a cleaned up spreadsheet to you.
to get the rest and.
Yeah, and we'll also, we may, you know, well, we won't have, I was gonna say 2 weeks, we won't have another figure, but you could do it the first one.
I'll update it again for next time,
Yeah,
but
it's not that much money.
I can't make a motion, but I would recommend motioning
I-
to
but-
just do it,
so I-
all
that's
of
why I
it.
started
It's,
doing
you know,
it,
Andy already took out the keyboard, which is fine, I think that's a
So
great
let's-
use of the frost
So,
one,
so
but
let's, so I'll continue my motion, the
Yeah.
motion to, you know, spend, what is it, $119,665 for items 1 through 6 and 8, 9, and 10.
Second?
any further discussion?
Are you putting Legos in there or not?
Well, we're
doing
gonna
that
Legos
separate.
separately,
Okay,
so I think.
all right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
What?
Nay.
Oh, sorry, did you want to discuss?
Yeah, I did want
I'm
to say
sorry.
something. I said, I was
Sorry.
still saying that I think we're much too tight in the budget if we spend this, so. Anyway, that's my thing.
Okay,
So I'm saying nay. I'm going no.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Okay, so the vote is 4-1 in favor. Okay, and Legos. Throw out a number here, somebody.
No, if you go for 2 teams, you need the 780, although what out of that is the 780 pays for registration, kit, table, turn and entry fee. What can you pay before June 30th?
So it's
And what has to be?
national registration, so the registration, the field service kit, shipping, handling, game table is all, that should be what was before July 1st.
No, that was the 780. Okay, and then there's only,
And then that leaves 2 items, which is tournament entry fee, which isn't paid until fall,
yeah,
and then just other stuff, you know, supplies to on the road.
right, you have, it's only $400, that's not a lot of money, so 780. Okay.
Is there a motion?
I think Rick's waiting for something else.
Yeah.
Motion.
I normally the chair doesn't, but
Yeah.
if anybody's not.
I make a motion, to fund the Lego Club in the amount of, what was, I'm sorry, $780.
And that will be, so then I'll come back for 400 more next year. I don't get from someone else.
Second? Any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion passes 4-0 with 1 abstain. For Lego Club, 2 Lego clubs. No, 1 Lego club, 2 teams.
Oh, I'm sorry.
3 to
Should've been more
1.
specific
Oh,
than
4
that,
is
huh?
zero.
No, I was just recapping for the
Okay.
record.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
just a real quick question. Hopefully next year, we don't have any, you know, that we can anticipate some of these needs in the budget, so we're not asking for them in April and May. You know, especially, you know, because with this stuff, I
You're
mean, I know
talking
you,
about the capital?
he's talking.
So the
I'm talking
Legos,
about this whole
Oh, Legos.
I
list.
did
Yeah.
come to the school board and I was asked.
No, I'm not talking about the Legos.
Oh, all right, I was saying.
I'm talking about
just
these
so you know, I
other things. I mean, like the $16,000 for air ducting, that should have been in the budget.
Yes, it should have.
Mm.
You are correct.
And,
The only problem
We
is.
had conversations about that as a board when
Right.
it came up years ago, and we found out how cruddy they were.
Mm-hmm.
And we said absolutely positively in the
Every
maintenance
5 years,
contract,
yeah.
do not let them get like that again. That's, you know, that should never happen.
right.
The only and yeah, the only thing I can think of is why some of these things may not have got added to the 14-15 budget is because we were so over budget as it was, you know what I mean?
Right, I mean, I understand that for this year.
Yeah.
Because I understand that there's a rush and you renew and we're trying to everything.
Not
But-
even that, but it had increased by such a great
Oh,
Right,
right,
rate
yeah.
because
right,
of the
Because of the
tuition
tuition.
and
Right.
the
So
health
we didn't ask for
insurance.
right.
But
We
remember,
had to pull back.
in the cycles that I asked Scott to put together,
Right.
we have already funded everything for the FY15 budget
Oh, I know.
out of the trust fund, except for the carpeting.
Right.
That was everything that was in his capital
Right.
plan.
Right.
So the other things were stuff we learned about later.
Well,
Right,
you
but,
talked.
but it's not, I mean, it's not just the air duct cleaning, I mean, the conceptual
wow.
physical science
Oh, yeah.
books. We should have known about that at the beginning of the year.
I'm gonna be putting in,
You know-
flushing out 2 new bathrooms, we're gonna be putting asbestos abatement into
All right,
the budget.
all
There's a
right.
whole bunch of stuff that's gonna be coming that'll be for the building itself.
Right,
Budget.
right, and I mean, this
Yeah.
new music keyboard, I mean, I've never heard a request for that before, and if the keyboard was in that
Pretty bad.
pretty bad,
20
then
years
why
old.
weren't we hearing a request for it?
Don't ask us.
Because, right, and I think we're cleaning up a lot of things that
Yeah.
have sat and rotted. And when we returned, when we think about how much we've returned in fund balance,
Right.
not last year, but,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when I first came on the board, we returned $471,000 in fund balance, okay? And yet, we had
Right,
All these things that need
the
to
duct
be done.
cleaning needing to be done, and I was like, what are we doing here?
right,
And we knew nothing about it as a board until it came to light through other ways, you know, or us walking through the building and saying, oh, how come we have a bathroom with no faucet, or, you know, why isn't hot water running? Things like that. What I would love to do, though, is put a list together of what we have invested in, because it would be a really nice picture to have on a checklist, because we've put in a new furnace,
Yeah.
and if we do the kitchen, and we do the science lab, and we do
Yeah.
and the duct cleaning, and the carpets we have replaced. I mean, we've done a lot of things for the school.
Windows?
Yeah, the brand new windows. I mean, the list goes on and on, but I
Right.
think we should have it on a list, because I think it would be wonderful to see it all in one place, and the
Right.
amount of money we've been able to
right.
absorb from the budget
Well,
and do these
right,
kinds of
right,
big
building.
projects that need to be done.
Yeah.
And the years that they
Buildings.
were done, so that we
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
record of that.
It would be nice to recap it, it really would.
We'll start putting together a spreadsheet.
And Betsy's right, I mean, I took a walk with Scott maybe a month ago, and I think I told you, he talked about the 1973 wing, which I noticed the floors were beginning to crack, and I said, why is this not, you know, on the list to be repaired? And his reply was that there was asbestos underneath it, and he knew it was too expensive to repair. I know, but we know about it now, you know what I'm saying?
We're gonna take care of it.
And I questioned, when we were walking, I'm like, these floors look a little bit, you know, worn.
Well, I remember, yeah, because that, wasn't that true in the gym? that-
And then I
that-
found out that
about
the
it
gym
years
also
ago.
has it.
We're going to have to replace those floors, they need to be done, we're
Right.
gonna have to have
Yeah.
it spec'd out.
I'll
spoke
stop
about
it.
that a year or two ago.
Just to be clear, the asbestos is not a danger, but if they
No.
start to rip up the floors, they have to do asbestos mitigation.
Right.
That's absolutely true.
Okay,
Law.
and so
Yeah.
I don't want people being
No, there's no
concerned.
danger.
and
No,
that-
no, it's just if you replace, if you ripped up the floors to be
Right.
replaced, it's the disposal of the asbestos.
If the tiles, these asbestos tiles crack, they begin cracking, that indicates that they need to be replaced, because once they have cracked, you can seal them with wax, but it
Mhm.
becomes more dangerous if the wax wears down. So that's usually the time at which the EPA had recommended to schools, if you start to see those tiles wearing and cracking, then you need to replace. Otherwise, waxing them will keep it safe.
Mhm.
They have to be sealed.
Yeah, there seems, I mean, this goes
And
back
they're just warm, so.
to the school culture of people not asking.
Well, you're absolutely
And-
right,
and,
because
you
I
know-
got to the art room and I said to the art
Yeah.
teacher, what's going on here? And he said he had no, I mean, well, no, I'm serious, he didn't have cabinets that, he didn't have a double
storage.
sink. I mean, there were and he was just, you
Getting
know,
by.
And I think what happens is when we do our budget, like we're doing our budget next year, I think these, you know, people should should say, this is what I need. And it's up to the school board to decide whether we're funded or not, but they need to tell us what. they
We'll be
need.
more
the
actively
culture
involved.
doesn't need to be that way.
Yeah, they
We'll be
need,
more
they
actively
need to
involved.
start telling us that, and especially if there's money in the budget,
Yeah. I mean,
and they don't ask for
attorneys
stuff,
are doing
and, you know, they go out buy something with their own money, when there's money in the budget to buy the thing.
Or if it's something big, you know, let's compromise on, let's start it here, and
Right.
to show that we really do.
Right.
You know.
And they were talking about going to the restore, and then the sink was going the wrong way, and it was,
This whole thing, this is when I talked about having a capital improvement plan for the school.
Pennywise and pound foolish.
And we have one.
Yeah, we
And
have
it's
one,
starting
that's
and
what I was
we're gonna-
talking about, is
gonna
all
get
these
there.
big projects.
We're gonna
we
get
could-
there.
I mean, we could even, I mean, we have this improvement fund, we could even put like an extra $5,000 a year in that. If we have something 5 years down the road that's gonna cost us $50,000, we put an extra $5,000 a year, so we can have it See, that's one reason we have that funds, we're not coming into these
Right.
huge expenditures.
I
We might
agree.
be, may even wanna
Planning
start,
ahead.
I mean, we may even wanna start, like, I don't know if we can use that money, we can't use that money for a classroom sink, but I think maybe we should think about having another fund that we could put money in to start saving for these other anticipated
Well, that's
expenditures.
called your capital improvement.
Yeah, so they're
We
not,
have
so
that.
they're not hitting us
Right,
all at once.
The idea of increasing it is probably a good idea by
Yeah.
5,000.
Yeah.
But we can't increase unless we really know.
Well, we're funding it with the fund balance.
Yeah, but
usually.
the whole idea.
So we do know by the time.
But if we know what the expenses are gonna be in the future, then we know what to fund it now.
and we have that now, we have the
Yeah.
capital improvement, we will cost those out for the fall, we
Right.
should know what those costs are.
So then we can know next year.
Exactly.
Oh, so then we can get
Yeah.
an anticipation of the next 4 or 5
And
years.
then the
what-
idea is that the budget
Right.
becomes more stable.
Right,
That's the intent.
right,
That's normally what you do, right?
Yeah.
Betsy? See,
Yeah.
right,
Betsy's here. We got her long term.
right,
She's gonna just keep on.
right.
Good
Okay.
ideas though, and good concerns.
That's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Impact fees.
All right,
Yep, we're moving right to impact fees. We need to release those, correct, or request
We have to
them be
request
released.
those.
Okay. And is, we don't have to vote though, right? We just send a letter off and ask them for them?
I was told you had to vote.
Oh, okay. So do I have a motion?
Because I
to-
sent the letter off because it was in the budget and I thought, okay, you know, and then they said that there was some,
They wanted some paperwork.
yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
make a motion to request the $12,000 for impact fees.
Second?
Plus accrued.
Right,
Oh, plus accrued
any
interest.
accrued interest, yeah.
so my understanding about this.
Wait, do we have a first and a second? Go ahead and discuss,
Is
Andy.
there a second?
Yes,
Okay.
Shannon.
My understanding is there's a lot more in impact fees are available to us than just the 12. We only budget 12,000, but there's a lot more we can.
We don't want to take those in this year's budget.
Right,
Because we budgeted to
For
take
next year.
$60,000 out of next year's
we did.
budget.
So we
And
will come back next year and ask.
Between this 12 and then that 60 that we budgeted next year, there'd probably be about another 6 left.
right.
If there are no
Nobody
more
else
deposits.
does.
They'll keep coming.
Yeah,
Well, there are more projects
okay.
that come already, there's 2 new houses.
Mhm. Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 5-0 to send a letter requesting the impact fees and accrued interest. Policies for review. Okay, policies for first reading, old policies for rescission. It looks like KBA, KBAA, and KBAR. These policies are no longer recommended by the New Hampshire School Board Association as they are presently covered under BEDGR and should be rescinded to avoid confusion. And that goes double for KBC, KBF, and KC because they're covered under KBA. So, it's not really, is it a first reading or is it just, can we just vote to rescind
Can you
these?
just turn?
Yeah.
Typically, and I have to actually check your policy on policies. I have seen it done in a single vote because you can make that exception to your own rules. So if you choose to vote in a single vote, you can vote it.
So I make a motion to rescind all the policies just mentioned.
KBA, KBA, KBAR.
KBC, KBF, and KC.
All right.
There you go.
So move, so us seconded.
Okay, any discussion? Seems like a smart idea to me. That's my comment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good.
Okay, policies for second reading, CGC, part-time and substitute professional staff employment substitute teachers. Did everybody read it over and does
Yeah.
anybody see anything that is of any concern?
Motion CGC for second reading.
I've already read this a million
Yeah, do
times
we
since I
need-
was on the policy committee.
Do we need,
Read it.
even need a second reading, or can we adopt it?
You can move it, you can adopt it if you choose.
I mean, I-
Well, it's on the agenda though, and in the packet
Yeah.
as a second reading, so I think we should.
It's up to you. You can move it as a second reading and adopt it.
We can adopt it, I mean, we've talked about this many times.
Is there a motion?
Well, I had one for a second reading, but
Oh,
they can be changed, no one seconded, so it doesn't matter.
oh, well, I probably should have waited So what's the motion now?
I make a motion to adopt policy CGC, part-time and substitute professional staff employment.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Policies for third reading and adoption. Third reading is the adoption, okay. JJF, student activity account management. BIE, board member indemnification. JEB, age of entrance. IK, earning of credit. IKAA, interdisciplinary credit. JICG, tobacco products ban use and possession in and on school facilities and grounds. LEB, advanced coursework, advanced placement courses, and DIC, capitalization of fixed assets. Did everybody get a chance to look those over for the 95th?
I looked at that tobacco thing. There is an RSA that says you can't have tobacco on the ground, so,
That's right.
Unfortunately,
That's why it's a required policy.
yeah, it's a required policy, it's an R, so. Make a motion to adopt all of those policies.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, non-public session.
Okay.
I would need a motion to go into non-public
So moved.
for RSA 91A:3, Roman numeral 2A, and RSA 91A:3, Roman numeral 2D.
Second.
Roll call?
Aye, right?
Brian, aye.
Praise aye.
Keen, aye.
Kit, aye.
Poll for aye.
Okay, we're out of non-public and we're back in public session. I'd like to entertain a motion to seal the minutes of this evening indefinitely, I think.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call for that, I think.
Brian, aye?
Praise aye.
Keen, aye.
Kit, aye.
Poll for
It
aye.
doesn't have to be, or it doesn't have to be 3/4
Okay,
or 2/3.
alrighty, and I think that's the only thing I had to do, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn, because it's a long night.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.